Hi, and welcome to Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship. I am Ariel Shaw, founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business, and we are here today with Terrell Dinkins, and she is a financial and wealth advisor, and we are so excited as we talk about women, wealth, and entrepreneurship today. Welcome, Terrell.
Thank you so much for having me, Ariel. It's a pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about you. I know we have information that you're president and founder of OBN Wealth Advisors, an independent registered investment advisor firm, which is amazing by itself. But not only that, you're an author.
Yes, a two-time author. So yeah, I run my own registered investment advisor firm that's OBN Wealth Advisors, and I'm also president of One Bucket Nation. One Bucket Nation is my company through which I speak, and I also publish my books. And of course, yeah, I have a brand new book. I guess it's a year old now, but it's still on the Amazon's bestsellers list. My new book.
Congratulations.
I know. I said I need to teach a class and give all the secrets of how I've been able to stay and remain on that bestsellers list for now over a year, because I launched my second book in October of 2020 during the pandemic. And
Yeah.
I have been able to stay on that list, which means that I'm reaching people. And that was the goal, is to be able to reach people that you wouldn't normally be able
I
to.
have that book right here, guys.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the 800 Club. So we're
Oh,
so excited. So tell us a little bit about your company.
so two companies. So I run it's a registered investment advisor firm is a fiduciary planning firm. And what I mean by fiduciary is we do what's in the best interest of the client. My When my firm, I don't get paid commissions. I pretty much help clients create their own financial roadmap. So that's what I do. And then and we were talking before we started the podcast of, what the OBN stands for. And so many people thinks that it's for One Bucket Nation, which is my other company. But when I started the firm in 2017, it was I had hit a new decade in my life. I had just turned 50 years old, and I was starting this new venture of, starting my own planning firm. Well, people don't know, and I won't tell you what it is, but my first initial is O. And I was saying to myself, I am beginning a new phase in my life at the age of 50. See, the OBN,
Right.
beginning anew. And and I was like, okay. And I also have this other company, One Bucket Nation. And I just felt like that was the merging of the two. My initials beginning this new phase in my life. When you're half a century old. And of course, my other company that I had started prior to me setting up my financial planning firm, One Bucket Nation. And with One Bucket Nation, it is my company through which I speak and I write books. And it also allows me a platform to get personal finance topics out there, just personal finance topics, and focus on financial literacy. So, because I think there's not a lot of information out there, because we're not teaching it in school, financial literacy. So One Bucket Nation was set up so that I would have a platform to talk about different personal finance topics. And even One Bucket Nation, the premise behind that, even with this first book, One Bucket at a Time, was for me to create a nation, or
Mm.
have a nation of wealth builders. The bucket represents people having an abundance. The bucket represents abundance. If you look up what the bucket means, it represents abundance. And so I wanted to create a nation of people that could create an abundance in their life. So that's what the whole One Bucket Nation, a nation of wealth builders, people who have abundance. So there's always something behind a name.
That's amazing. So tell me, where do you get that passion for just wanting to see um, more people build wealth? Did it come from a point in your life where you said, you know what, if I had known something different, or were you just raised like that?
So I'm doing it. I'm going to tell you this story, but I'll tell you why. So I'm working on this project in my backyard, and I was the the guy who was rerouting my sprinkler system. He asked me, what do you do? And I told him. He said, "Oh, you're smarter than me," and I'm not smarter than him. I'm just walking in my purpose. You're smarter than me when it comes to, rerouting sprinkler systems. I couldn't do that, but I'm walking in my purpose. And so I say all of that to um, get back to your question. Where does it come from? This is something that I've always loved. And I think every single person, when you ask yourself this question, I even talk about this in my first book, if money wasn't an object, what would you be doing? And if money wasn't an object, I would be helping people with their money. I've always been good with money. When I was a little, in kindergarten, I could, I was really good with money from the beginning. I know that I was put on this earth to help people with their finances. And I'm just really tapping into my passion, tapping into my gift, tapping into the things that I love doing. And I think we all have a gift. And I'm just fortunate enough to be able to make a living at this point with the gift that I was given. And so everything, I used to have, what we talk about, this podcast is about entrepreneurship. I also, feel like God has blessed me with both sides of my brain. I used to have an interior design company. So I felt like I've been able to use the creative side of my brain and the analytical side of my brain. But when I launched my practice, I had to ask myself, I wanted to go all in with this. And I asked myself, do people need interior design, or do they want interior design? And I felt like it was more of a want and not a need. And I said, okay, I'm going to shut that down and completely just focus on something that I feel is a bigger need. Right. And there's a bigger need for financial literacy. There's a bigger need to, get people off the sidelines and feel comfortable with investing to build wealth, especially for women. Because we
talk a little bit about why you feel like women need to focus more on their wealth building.
Well, I was actually once a month I have this afternoon money talks on my OBM Wealth Advisors Facebook page live, and I just covered this yesterday. So if we look at the United States, and we think about, the households that we have, the majority of households now, when it comes to making financial decisions, are ran and made by women. 69% of the households, the financial decisions are made by women. We're born what I call a blessing and a curse. The blessing is we will probably outlive our male counterparts. And the curse is we will probably outlive our male counterparts, because sometimes people feel like longevity may not necessarily be a blessing if you're still here, you don't have all your faculties. So because we do live longer, and there are so many households that are ran by single women, I think it's important that we prepare ourselves in the event that we are alone. And that's why I focus primarily on women. And even when I started my firm, I decided to be brave and look at a niche, because so many people, they don't feel like it's wise to have a niche. Not that I don't work with men, because I do have married couples that I work with. I even do premarital financial counseling. So I do work with them, but I don't go out seeking that. I really get comfort in helping women create financial strategies, whether she is, single and making the financial decisions on her household, or even if she's married, but she has a financial voice, then right. I just get comfort in helping.
So let me ask you a question. As it relates to entrepreneurship, is there a different focus that women need to be making if they are, one, making those decisions in the household, and two, maybe the only person in the household? Is there a difference in how we should approach as entrepreneurs this wealth building initiative?
What do you mean? Can clarify. What do you mean a different approach?
So, for example, because we probably, as a single woman, have a little bit more to lose. Meaning, is there an emphasis? You're a single woman, you're an entrepreneur. You really need to make sure A, B, C, and D is done and put more of an emphasis in that area because one, you're running the whole household by yourself, and two, you also have a business. So you have pretty much two babies or two sets that you're having to run.
No, I agree. You know what I have found that sometimes, and this is why, if we look at, statistics, a lot of times our we're not bringing in the revenues. But when you have a lot to lose like that because you are running your household, we need to be better prepared before we take that leap. We need to be better prepared before we take that leap, which means that it's okay if you have your hustle on the side while you're still working corporate America, because I always tell people to have the mindset that when they are passionate about something, they really want to go out there, but they're still working, to tell yourself, I'm using this company to get what I want. I saw a quote from Denzel Washington. I'm not sure if he was the original person of this quote, but do what you got to do. So do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do.
Right.
So I really feel like when you have this passion to start this business, you need to be, and you're doing it on your own, you need to be better prepared. Don't take the leap too soon. Have enough money set aside for the business and for your personal expenses. And I think that's where people go wrong. They don't think about the fact that you need to have a money set aside that's going to cover you while you're getting this venture up and running, but also for your business, because you're going to have business startup costs. And I think people sometimes take the leap too soon and they say goodbye to their employer, especially since we've had this pandemic.
Yeah.
Employees can't find people to work because so many people are finding passion or enjoying being out there on their own, saying, hey, I don't quite need all the things that I thought I needed. But just be mindful, but that there are expenses associated with each. And here's the thing, even with my company, as my revenues grow, then there are things that I can add. Like you may not be, and I'm going to use this as an example, you may not be able to add the DocuSign, or you may not be able to add up front a marketing assistant. As your company grows and you're bringing in all additional revenues, and you can start adding some things to your business that will make it run smoother and easier. But in the beginning, you're going to be on the grind, and you're going to do a lot on your own in the very beginning.
So, and going into just startups and what it takes to start building credit, talk to us a little bit about the secrets of the 800 Club. and and I'll tell you this. So what we have realized, while we can start to begin to establish business credit, as it relates to possibly not using yourself as a personal guarantor, it is still difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. So that credit score, that personal credit score, affects so much.
Affects so many. People don't realize in the very beginning, your personal credit is your business credit. And I'll repeat that. In the beginning, when you are starting that business up, your personal credit is your business credit. And you're not going to get a business credit card if you don't have decent credit. So that's why it's so important when you're starting out to work on your personal credit. And even when you've, and then also too, when you have, which means that may start with your banking institution. I even tell people in the beginning that when you're starting out, create a good banking relationship, because it may be that very banking relationship that will help you with the business credit, give you a business credit card. So have a good banking relationship, because that is usually your first start, the banking relationship that you have with
Right.
your business.
Absolutely. Most people don't understand that, and I know we've hosted luncheons, and that's everything they say. You know, you have to have a relationship with your banker. They need to know you. They need to understand your business, so then they can best assist you. But
Absolutely.
that credit score again is just so important because what we saw even during the pandemic when the first set of funds were released under the economic injury disaster, there
Mhm.
were people being denied for their credit. Not that they didn't have legitimate businesses, but the SBA still had to check their credit.
Or looking at their personal credit. That is why, I have the book. It starts with you.
Yeah,
It starts with you. The banks need to feel comfortable. It's just like with you lending someone money. There are some people you're not going to, lend money to, because you're not going to get your money back.
yeah,
They're not going to give you your money back. But the banks are thinking the same way. I need to feel comfortable knowing that, yeah, we're going to make money because we're going to charge them interest rate. But I need to feel comfortable knowing that this person is credit worthy, and they're going to pay me back. And even with that business loan, they're going to pay me back.
right,
Because here's the thing: after you've gotten your credit in order, and you open up your business bank account, and you apply for a business credit card initially, and they're going to be looking at you. That doesn't show up on your personal credit. So you're really, in essence, building business credit. But over time, you will start getting and receiving, and I say this because it's happened to me, things from that credit card company. Like American Express sent me something the other day. Hey, why don't you, because they want to seek you out, they realize that you're credit worthy, you're going to pay your bills.
yeah.
We can send you want to get to apply for this business loan. So you'll get offers when they feel like, hey, this is a good person, they're going to pay me back. Even this business is paying back their payments or their credit card bill on time. Then you start getting offers for loan. People come to you.
Right, right.
They
you
will
set,
come to you.
you set the standard. Which
Yeah,
is a very, very powerful position to have. And more importantly, when you're looking to scale, which is something as minority female entrepreneurs, although African American women, minority women make up the largest number as far as starting businesses, they are not scaling to the same degree. And I really think it has one to do with their ability to hire. And one of the things that would help with that, of course, is capital infusion. And if
Mhm.
you're able to make sure that that personal credit is where it needs to be, you can compete with maybe not an Amazon, but maybe because
Right.
Amazon is making it pretty. How are you going to compete as a small business when they're paying for college and everything else, especially in this climate where in August you had maybe 4 million people leave the workforce.
That's
So it's a
right.
very interesting time that we're in. So I want to lean a little bit more into what advice or secrets that I know that folks got to go buy the book. But what do we need to take away? Give us some teasers or something to say, hey, look at this, think about this, these are a little bit of the secrets, or give us something where the audience knows what they need to be doing.
Well, so first of all, I feel like the whole thing with your credit starts with you being able to drive your money. And believe it or not, your credit starts with your budget, because a lot of people get in trouble with their credit because they don't have a good handle on their money and they're not driving and steering their money. One of the things that I really hone on, and the front cover of this book is a unicorn. And the unicorns are those people who consistently maintain a credit score above 800. And when you look at the characteristics of these unicorns are people that are very passionate about where their money is going. So when you know how to drive your money, you can also drive that credit score and pay your bills on time. So some of the stuff is basics. I won't give away chapter 8, which is called The Dirty Little Secret. I really want you to get the book. And that chapter, you can literally change your credit score within a month, overnight. But you got to follow the formula. But the biggest thing that I will talk about is the obsession that these unicorns have with steering and driving their money. And if you don't have a handle on your money, then you will not be able to have a handle on your credit. That's the foundation of all. And people don't realize that.
I've never heard people say that. If you do not have your budget drives your credit, which
Think
makes
about it. Your money drives it. Think about it. Because here's the thing, the people get in trouble with credit because they're not handling their money. Or they have this obsession with charging things. But most of the time they're getting in trouble because they're not handling their money. They haven't done a budget to realize, hey, I can't pay this item off. I'm buying stuff, but I can't really afford it. So it starts there. And these people that are unicorns are obsessed with that. They always have a good handle on their money.
That's good. So how does one become a unicorn?
Unicorns are people that have their credit scores above 800. So you got to read the book to figure out, follow the steps, but also there are tricks.
Yeah.
Tricks to when you should be paying your bills. And I talk about that. Go to chapter 8. I'm not going to give away all the stuff. You hear that. You hear that. I want to say this too. I want to say, okay, so 800, let me tell you why I put 800, why this 800 thing is so important. If you have a 750 credit score, 750 credit score is a great credit score.
Okay.
But what happens is things can happen over a period of a month. That your score can drop 10 points. So now when your score drops 10 points from a 750, you're no longer in that excellent, really good credit. It drops. So now they're not looking at you as this 750, and anything can happen. Your score can drop 10 points overnight. I mean, my score dropped. You pay off, if you become mortgage free, your credit score will drop. I know that's odd, but your score will drop when you become mortgage free because now you no longer have that installment loan because your score is also based on the types of
pay. Right.
The types of credit. So, but if you have an 800 or above credit score, if your score drops 10 points, you're still at a 780. If your score drops 50 points, you're still at a 750. So what that 800 score does is that it gives you wiggle room for things to happen because things are going to happen in your life. Okay. And that's why we strive to get people above 800 so that you have wiggle room. Okay. You put charge your credit card. My score dropped 6 points last month because, and it was okay. It was still 830. But it dropped because I put a big old charge. I'm doing all these construction projects, but I got wiggle room to drop. My score dropped 10 points. I'm still, in that.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to get.
You're still a unicorn.
I'm still a unicorn. I dropped 10 points. I'm still a unicorn. I can drop 50, 75 points. You're still a unicorn. You have a high score. Your score drops 50 points. You're still, doing well.
And so I want to go a little deeper because you mentioned I'm doing construction projects. So what does that mean? So although the credit score is a number, what it represents is the ability, the freedom the flexibility, the ability to make decisions that you may have to wait for, or may not be the best terms for you financially if you are trying to get access to capital and you're paying a ridiculous interest rate that normally, if you are a unicorn or seeking to become a unicorn, you're not paying those high interest rates. You're not paying more for a project,
You
basically.
people, let me just say this too. So take a car as an example. Pretty much anybody can get a car, but it's not the car, it's not getting the car, it's what you pay for the car.
Absolutely.
People that have great credit scores, you pretty much can get free money when we're in a low interest rate environment. My last car that I bought, my interest rate was 1.98%. That's almost free money. So now I can take my money. I'm doing OPM. I'm borrowing other people's money because it's almost free money, because you pretty much, when you pay your payment, the bulk of that money is going towards the principal of that car.
Absolutely.
But now somebody has poor credit, because I know someone who recently bought a car and they were charged 20%
Oh my goodness.
because they had poor credit. So you got one person who is a unicorn who pays 1% or 2%, and someone else who has poor credit. The exact same car could cost you thousands of dollars more because of your credit score. Literally. That's why. And so when we look at minorities in our community, we're it also goes back to this huge wealth gap. There's a huge wealth gap because we're spending so much of our money paying for things that we shouldn't have to pay for, paying extra for our houses, paying extra for our cars, because our credit may not be where it should be. Absolutely. So that's another reason why it's so important, because you could be taking that money and investing it somewhere. Thousands of dollars could be placed. I think I ran an analysis of a car that with someone that had like a 600 versus someone with 800. It was $5,000 a year that they paid more for that car over 72 months or 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're spending thousands of dollars. You could very well take that money and put it into a Roth IRA or an IRA for yourself, rather than paying on a car with that.
Absolutely. Which
so it costs you money. It costs so much money when you have poor credit.
It does. It does. And you hit it on the nail, the wealth gap, when we're talking about making sure people have access and equal access, and they're not basically coming out of poverty. There is no way for you to really come out of poverty if you're paying more for everything. It's no way.
And here's another thing too. I know there are people out there who says, oh, you shouldn't even be using credit. Well, that's not realistic. So you think about the young person who's going to save up now $300,000 to buy a house. Mm-hmm. Who's going to save up, I don't know what the average price of a car is, $35,000 to buy a car. Mm-hmm. What credit does, it allows you to, first it allows you to use other people's money, and you can take your money and build wealth with it. Good credit will allow you to use other people's money cheaper, and you can take your money and investing it. But it also allows us to get ahead in life. 26-year-olds who can, I bought my first house at the age of 26. Had I not had credit, I wouldn't have been able to do that, because I didn't have the money to go out and buy a house, nor did I want to save up the money to buy a house. It would take me forever. So I was able to get a house at the age of 26 because of my credit, and then sell that house, make a gain on that house, and take that money and invest it. And because the house went up in value.
So Terrell, you didn't mention this had to come from your family, because as a 26-year-old, you're probably just getting out of college. Well, you've been out of college for a few years, maybe grad school.
Well, I didn't go to grad school until I was in my 30s, but yeah.
Okay. You had to have been introduced to this at an earlier age. Talk to me a little bit about that, because most 26-year-olds aren't thinking about buying a house.
So here's what I will say this right here. You don't have to have a college degree to know how to manage money. And so my mother, who didn't graduate from high school, I'm a first generation college graduate. My mother was always good with money. So she was, I will watch her as a child sit and write out the bills. And I even give this story in my first book. She loves that first book because she says, "Oh, you're writing about me in the book." But she was, I have a younger sister and an older brother. I'm the middle child. And now, granted, I was always good with money from kindergarten. I was one time I looked at some documents, and my mother had put my name on these documents as a beneficiary. And I know at the time I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And I said, "Mama, that was not wise." She said, "I just always knew you were always smart, even as a little child." But even with that being said, my mother would, she was a widow at the age of 34. My dad died at the age of 36. And she would say to my sister and I, it was, you need to always make sure that you save money because you may be by yourself. She was alone at 34. And she would always say this too: you don't need to let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. A woman needs to always have her stash. And so that's that old school mama. A woman needs to always have her stash in the event that she will be alone. And so it did come from my mom. It was a tough love situation. She always pushed me to save my money, but people are who they are. And when she told me to save, I did save. By the time I was 18, I had $8,000 in the bank. I saved my money. So when my father passed, you get Social Security. Your mom gets Social Security for the kids. And when I hit, I guess, 10th or 11th grade, she said, "Here, this is all that I have. I'm going to give you the money, and you need to do whatever you need to do because I don't have money for college." And so I saved the money and I worked, because I knew that I didn't have a lot of options. So I saved the money and I worked. And then of course, So it came from my mom, and then also something I just always loved. I was one of those little kids. I love math. I always, just always loved it. That's what I mean by when we think about it, Ariel, you are born, if you go back and reflect to kindergarten, and if you look at, who you were in kindergarten, there was something that you were doing in kindergarten, because that's usually where we tap into those things that we love doing. So even if I ask you, what were you great at in kindergarten? That's usually probably your passion. We just kind of ignore it. You probably, I don't know, what were you doing in kindergarten? Because I know in kindergarten, I love counting money. I always saved money as far as I can remember. And if you interview my siblings, they would say this about me.
Wow. Well, you know what? This has just been a pleasure. I know I have the secrets of the 800. I actually have both of your books. I got one bucket years ago at an event for women that we went to in I believe Clayton County.
Yeah.
And Secrets of the 800 Club, I mean, it's a page turner. I would just say it really does speak to the ability to negotiate your terms, which is freeing in itself. And I would just encourage everyone. I know, and I know you've been at the top of the Amazon list. Tell us a little bit. I mean, how has that felt? I mean, that's amazing. Congratulations.
It's been a surreal, I'm just shocked because I was the publisher of this time on this book. And it's to me, it also shows that there is a huge need for some little old me, that people are, I'm getting, reviews back. People, I guess, around the world have access to this book, but it
Absolutely.
shows that there's a need for that sort of information, because there are a lot of books out there on credit, but there's a huge need for it.
Is there going to be something for the kids? I kind of feel like there should be. Just what you're doing, it just kind of makes sense. To maybe have that financial literacy that starts early. So as we have an initiative called Real Leaders Read. It's something I've read to my child since she was literally in my belly. Something that people, I don't think they do a whole lot, but it was just understood. That's what we do. So she had her own bookshelf long before she could even read, really. And we're just a proponent of getting information to kids where it's in their hands early. So, is there any thought to doing anything as it relates to financial literacy? Because you learned early why it was
Mhm.
important and why money was important, why saving is important. But not everybody has had that ability. So, how do we change? Because you're building a nation now. So, that nation has to start early.
You said something that was so key. I learned early, but I learned from my mother. And I think that the financial literacy, and my children are, my son, he's in college. But he came back and said, "Oh, mom, my professor was saying everything that you were saying about the Roth IRA." So
Yeah.
it starts with the parents,
Mhm.
and it's our parents, the parents' responsibility to want this for their kids. And that's why I learned that, yeah, we can have all the materials, because there are a lot of materials out there for kids. I've seen materials out there for children, but it starts with the parents wanting it for their children. Now, I do have a lot of people that have purchased Secrets of the 800 Plus Club, and then they've gotten the book for their young adults, their teens. It does start early, but I think with it starting early, it starts with the parents wanting this information for their children, like my mother did for me, and like I did for my own children. And also, two things are different. Kids learn differently now. Unfortunately, I don't feel like children are reading the books. Everything is audible. So it may be that, something, I come out with something differently. I was talking about this morning with someone, having an audible book, because people learn differently now. And so you have to
Absolutely.
be creative with the information that you put out. But with the kids, I think it starts with the parents wanting it for their children.
Absolutely. I agree.
Like,
So we're women, wealth, and entrepreneurship. Let's let's wrap this up and say, like, what do we need to take away from this amazing call for all these women? They're starting businesses left and right. I was talking with someone at the chamber yesterday, and 90% of the new people that are coming through her door are women.
yeah.
It's just, and when we started Southern Crescent Women in Business, we knew one, that women had a whole lot of talent, especially where we're calling the Southern Crescent, the South Side, but just nationwide, globally, period. Women are taking control of their destiny in a way that we have not seen, at least not that I can remember. We are doing it unapologetically. Now, I know within the training that we have done, although that passion exists, we're always saying, hold up a second. Let's make sure we have certain things in place so that when you are stepping out to start that business, that you have everything that you need in order to do so.
I
So that,
want to ask you a question before you go on. So what are you seeing? Because you are seeing these young women. What is the biggest mistake? I guess the table's turning, but I do want to find out from you because you are seeing a lot of these young women. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you're seeing and why these women aren't succeeding with their business?
so they're succeeding. However, there is a lot of passion before structure. And because I'm an MBA, and it never would occur to me to start a business without a business plan, and having written several, there is a lot of that,
Right.
where you are, I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to start, and I'll figure it out on the way. Where, and then it ends up having to come back. Well, hold on a second. Did you do A, B, C, D? And do you understand? So that's where we're seeing a lot of the challenges. Things were heightened to a whole new level during the pandemic because, of course, when we were trying to get dollars out, whether it was from the federal side or the local side, there were so many businesses that did not have things in order to even receive the funding. And this is free money. These are grants. So we were like, wait a minute, something isn't right here. So that's where it really came. And it wasn't just this area, it was everywhere. People were seeing it nationwide. Things were not put in place correctly. So that was a mission for us, which is why we started a cohort. But we still are having those conversations for those who maybe didn't attend the cohort, and they're just, I'm already in this business and I got to figure it out and I got to be able to survive. Well, do you have good credit? What can we do to make sure you have a capital infusion? Do you know your numbers? Do you have a budget for your business? Because we have to understand what you need in order to actually say, I've made a profit.
So you and I'll probably agree before you take the leap, you need to be prepared. Because when you do have that small business, companies will, it usually starts with them giving you a business credit card. You'll get a business credit card before they will give you a business loan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier to get the business credit card before you get the business loan. And they'll start with the business credit card first, and then they'll raise the rate. Because I was working with one of my business owners with a banker, and we looked at the different options for her, and they gave her the business credit card. They started with that. But you gotta show that your company can make money in order to pay back.
Absolutely.
The credit card. So we would both agree that before you take the leap, there needs to be preparation.
Absolutely. And it hasn't been, we're in discussion now with establishing what we're calling a somewhat of a revolving fund. But because we're working with a financial institution that's willing to partner with us to make that happen, one of the things that we're looking at doing is making sure that we have certain things in place to say, because we want you to win. We want you, one, you gotta need to be able to pay us back. And two, we just want to make sure that before you get dollars, certain things are in place. So I would just say, as a wealth builder, and I know we've talked to several on the line before, but we've never talked to anyone who actually went out and had their own. So, which is amazing by itself. I will just say, we don't want our ladies to be at a place where they're, one, know your numbers, make sure you can make this business happen to where you're not pulling. You're not pulling from your personal, because if you are in a position where something happens to you, what do you do?
And you know what? Here's the thing too, and I see this a lot. When you first start out, and I look at my own practice, I didn't. You pay yourself a small amount. You need to keep some money in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to keep some money in your business, and it may not be that you take everything out of your business and pay yourself. That means that you're not ready. You
Mm-hmm.
need to keep some working capital in your business to work, which means that you may have to pay yourself a smaller salary as you start out, which goes back to you having those two buckets of money when you're starting out. You need to have enough money for the business, startup working capital, and then
Right.
also your personal money to keep you afloat as well. And
Absolutely.
that's what I mean by being prepared before you take the leap. And then when you do start, you need to keep some money in that business because something's going to come up.
And invest.
But what personal investing, I mean, that comes later when you're starting up. You may not have enough cash to put in investing. Because I tell people, when you start investing, you're telling yourself that I am willing to, and what I mean by investing is putting money in the stock market.
Right.
You're telling yourself that I am willing to take a risk in the event that I lose this money and that I'll be okay with it.
Mm.
Because when you put money in the stock market, I'm a huge, I feel like the only way, when we look at how wealth is made in this country, wealth is
Absolutely.
made predominantly through real estate investing, through the stock market, through let me see, real estate investing, through the stock market. I forgot, I can't think of,
Entrepreneurship.
you know, entrepreneurship, you have business, owning your own business, but also two people may inherit money through life insurance. So that's where the bulk of the, inheritance through life insurance. But
Right.
so I'm a huge, investor in the stock market. That's what I do. I'm a, wealth manager. I manage money for a living. But when you get to that point, you need to be willing to say, okay, I'm okay if I take some risk with this money. I'm
Right.
at a point where I have my cash bucket.
Mm.
Now I can take on additional risk,
Yeah.
because higher
Absolutely.
the risk, you'll get better returns. You can't keep all your money in cash.
Absolutely.
But there are steps to get into that point.
Well, Terrell, it has absolutely been a pleasure. We appreciate you coming on to Wealth and Women Entrepreneurship Podcast with myself, Ariel Shaw, and Southern Crescent Women in Business. I want to allow you to have the last few words and, of course, tell people how they can find you and access your books.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I will just say, I will actually close out by using the quote from Denzel Washington. Do what you got to do so that you can do what you were born to do.
Mm.
uh, Following your passion. And it's okay to, do your hustle on the side, and tell yourself that I'm gonna use my corporate job to follow my dreams and follow my passion. So make sure you go out and pick up both my books. I'm not sure if they are able to see my screen, but for women who are starting their business, I think both books would be great. One Bucket at a Time, A Woman's Guide to Creating Wealth, talks about the different buckets we should be creating throughout our lifetime so that it will last us a lifetime. And Secrets of the 800 Plus Club, the importance of building and keeping a great credit score. I think it's important too, especially for that businesswoman. You can find both of my books on my website, onebucketnation.com, or on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. And please follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at One Bucket Nation.
It has been a pleasure. It has been a
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you, Terrell. And it's amazing. Again, pick up the book, Secrets of the 800 Club, in one bucket at a time. Again, this is Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship. I am Ariel Shaw, founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business. Thank you.
Thank you.